Time to get this 387 together. We're gonna get that much closer. Sometimes you're making a list, checking it twice. I'm gonna find out if this is naughty or nice. 'Tis the season. Be ready to fire it, hopefully by the end of the week. To do it, but to do it. I'm just starting randomly with whatever. I always put my clutch cable here on my bracket. This is an SN95 cable. This is a longer throw than a regular Fox body one. Next move, we got to put the water pump on so I can get the power steering and the bracket all lined up. We're gonna go fast in this video, get a lot of shit done. One step at a time. Hang this on here with all this gasket sealer. And we'll gather all the right bolts. Alright, got this on here. Now we just gotta tighten it up a little bit to get it fit pretty good. So moving right along, I had to put the actual alternator bracket on with the water pump bolts. Going through checking it. Like 3 different size sockets, but this is that aftermarket one, so just checking it to make sure. Remember, we had to modify this one because the 351 bracket isn't the same as a 302 one. But moving right along, about to put the alternator on. This damn car has seen so many different engines. So we gotta set this turnbuckle up as well. Right. So I've modified that washer. Moving right along. You can see the Ford number in here, but this is the factory power steering relocation up, AC delete, whatever you want to call it. So we cheated. If you look at this photo that we got here, I used to have a 9.5 deck Windsor motor in my black car, and if you look at the bracket, I actually cheated this bracket. So we're gonna do that just for the mounting, and just for mocking things up, and just so we can get progress. And when this bracket comes in that I ordered for actually the 351 one, we'll just swap it out real quick. I'll show you what it's all about. I know it looks like we got like a lot of work to do, but we really don't. So we're just gonna, it's actually supposed to go here, and this hole's supposed to go here. We're gonna use the other one instead. So we're gonna go ahead and put this bolt back in, just for mock-up reasons. You can see how much shorter it is. So this bracket's what we ordered. So when it comes in, it'll be pretty easy. We'll just put it back on. Moving on. I'm just randomly putting stuff on now. Time to get it done. Tighten that turnbuckle down so we'll be able to do a belt adjustment. So we just working it, man. I'm just telling you. We put the radiator hose on. I'm just gonna keep flying through this, you know what I mean? So this is the intake tube. We've already got the mass air down in here. This is part of my cold side, and we already got the mass air hooked up. We're just gonna use the old intercooler as like a filter or whatever. That way when we decide to get the whole turbo kit on this side, we pretty much have most of the cold side already hooked up because we're tuning on binary editor, but we'll just keep cranking at it. I gotta take these injectors out and go get them cleaned. I think today we're gonna end with motor mounts, starter, and probably hooking up the clutch cable. And then I'll probably come back in here later on and tinker. So once you just get motivated, once you get the wheel moving, then you start getting shit done, you know. All right, got some motor mounts done. Got the starter in. We're moving right along. Cousin Paul's gonna mess with some wiring and some VSS. Clutch cable, gotta adjust it with the quadrant up top. So one of the biggest things with mocking, you know, new engine swaps up and new engine builds is spending the time to run all the lines and run all the, I don't know. We've taken quite a bit out of the car today. We've taken the splash guard, which we didn't even have on the driver's side. We pulled some of the old smog, like canister stuff. That way we have room inside the fender well. And this is kind of something that I should have never set up like this before. We're gonna move it over here to the fender well. I think we got plenty of room there. We took out some of the stuff that we don't use anymore, like the cruise. And we'll be able to set up a exhaust system to go right into our old, you know, Y-pipe turbo setup that we have here. So with the DBK header, I bought a merge collector to go right into that area right there, so I don't have to move any of that down. We're just taking old Y-pipe, X-pipe, whatever, mock some shit up like this, and I'll just cut it to where it fits into the merge collector with a flex coupler, and then we'll come off that header and come across and come into its collector too. So it'll be kind of like a pipe that comes over and moves in. It won't be the most efficient thing, but the nice thing is I'll have an exhaust for the 387 in case I want to drive it naturally aspirated for a while. So luckily we had a couple extra pieces of exhaust, H-pipe, Y-pipe laying around. It'll be a nice little setup. Like I was telling Paul and Fred, you know, might be something that I decide to drive around naturally aspirated for a while before I put a turbo kit on it. But I'm mainly wanting to get a majority of the way finished with this project so I can get back on the white car and get the new tuning software in it. End of February, we got a big race coming up at Gainesville, NMRA stick shift shootout. But nonetheless, we still got quite a bit of knick-knack shit to get done in this car. We're just gonna continue banging away at this. It's not gonna be perfect. It's not gonna be the fastest car. It's not gonna make the most power. We've got a couple boxes coming in. I'll update you guys later on in the day. Not gonna fire it today, but next video that we have on this week, most likely we'll be cranking on the car, getting all the electric and the fuel mocked up, and you guys will see what we're talking about. So quick update where we're at. Busted out our rubber clamps, fixed up a couple hosings and a couple wiring issues we had. About to stick our 80-pound injectors in. Now I was gonna have these cleaned with the other set of injectors that I got going on. These are the Ford Racing 80s and they haven't seen E85, so I'm not really concerned about it. But we're getting there. I've changed a couple things. We ended up moving the fuel regulator, which I'm working on right now. Might be a good spot to put it here. We'll keep rolling with it. A lot of work to do. I mean, anytime you're doing an engine swap or installing a motor, there's always things you're gonna have to move and change and rebuild, or there's always something. And it's time consuming. But do it right the first time or prepare to do it again. Okay, so we ended up getting it mounted right where we wanted it. We took the cruise out because we have a different steering wheel anyways, so relocating this fuel pump gauge up top, it's not gonna hit the tire. I don't want to take a chance, but it's nice having the fuel pressure regulator out here in case there's a problem. It'll just leak right to the ground and not in my engine bay. We'll simply make a -8 end and come over here to a union, and we'll clean this one off and rerun it through the subframe connector back up through here, and we'll just make a little 3-foot extension. I've been wanting to do this for a while in the car because I didn't really like where I had that mounted anyways. So it was definitely on the to-do list regardless. So let me show you some of the stuff that we got in the mail. We ended up getting a couple lines. This is some goodies. Here's some offset bushings for the rack, so I can take a couple of the spacers out of the motor mounts, and -8 line that matches the Fragola pieces that we have going on underneath the car. Got a couple hose line ends, and here's a union. Got one more thing we're gonna do for here in the video, and we're gonna mock these up real quick. Pretty boring stuff, guys. I apologize. Just trying to keep you updated on what we're doing with the 387 here. Getting the fuel system mocked up and getting the exhaust mocked up. Those are two really big things that we needed to do that I knew was gonna require some fabrication and some customizing, which takes time. We've got a lot of things to do still to it. We're gonna get it started, get it fired up, just get it off the jack stands, and then we'll make little tweaks and tunes here and there as we go. So, okay, we did a whole bunch of tinkering on it the last hour or so. I haven't really done a whole lot of video about it, but a lot of hooking this up, hooking that up. But here is what we're going to actually do with the exhaust. I found a Y pipe that I could take apart, or a H pipe, X pipe, whatever you want to call it. And what we're gonna do, since we're gonna end up using this exhaust again for turbo later, we didn't move or change any of that. We're gonna go from a 3.5 to a 2.5, and we're gonna actually cut this to fit. It'll be a little bit of a mock setup for naturally aspirated. There should be plenty of airflow there. Shouldn't be really a lot of back pressure at all. It'll allow us to use a couple O2 sensors. I wasn't gonna use that H pipe, X pipe anyways. It was kind of already hacked up and half welded to begin with. So let me bring the car down. I'll show you a couple things that we did at the top, and we'll finish the video up. Definitely did a lot of work. We're waiting on the belt and the bracket, which will only take a few minutes to hook up as we have the tensioner already set up. We will prime the motor, and then we'll drop the distributor and put the wires and the plugs in, well, we did a lot of hooking up with the wiring, cleaning up the wiring harness, got our 80s in, got our fuel rails in, got some vacuums to plug up, removed some stuff that shouldn't be here, got the fuel system hooked up. I'm very happy with where the return's at. We got to make that extension. It's gonna be nice and tucked up there. All right, guys, that's pretty much all I got for you. I appreciate you sticking around for the video. Did a bunch of work to it, did a lot of little, hook this up, hook that up, fix this, fix that, change this. It's just the way it is when you're engine building. You just gotta stay motivated, write the shit down, make a list, check it twice. I'm fairly confident that we're pretty close to getting this engine fired up. I'd like to have it fired up by Christmas, moving by the end of the month. If you enjoy this sort of content, leave me a thumbs up, leave me a comment below. If you haven't subscribed already, consider subscribing. Check out the join button, exclusive content to the channel. Just appreciate all my members for being part of that. Outside of that, I just appreciate you watching. I will see you soon in the next video. Thanks.
Oh, man,